May 13, 1949. A firestorm inside the Holland Tunnel erupts when a truck carrying 80 drums of highly flammable carbon disulfide catches fire. Less than 100 yards into the tunnel, a drum breaks loose, ruptures, and gas ignites. The inferno burns at over 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit, melting everything in its path. The entire structure shakes as firefighters battle the blaze for hours, struggling to contain the raging flames and thick smoke. 66 people are treated, 27 hospitalized, and firefighter Gunther E. Beek dies months later due to injuries sustained. This disaster could have destroyed the tunnel, yet miraculously, the structure survives. How did this tunnel, completed in 1927, withstand the devastation of an explosion? And what actually went into constructing the first ever underwater vehicular tunnel between New York and New Jersey? To understand, we have to rewind to the early 20th century when crossing the Hudson River was a logistical nightmare. Before the Holland Tunnel, ferries were the only way to transport vehicles between New York and New Jersey. It wasn't always smooth sailing. Freakishly cold winters, like those of 1917 to 1918, froze the Hudson River, blocking ferry traffic and creating a food and fuel crisis in Manhattan. Then, in the winter of 1918 to 1919, maritime workers went on strike, again paralyzing ferry operations. For New Yorkers and New Jerseyans, these disruptions proved that a reliable crossing solution was desperately needed. By 1920, traffic between the two states had reached a staggering 15 million vehicles annually. With bridges ruled out due to shipping traffic concerns and logistical limitations, an underwater tunnel became the only viable solution. But this proposed tunnel had to address a problem never solved before: how to prevent carbon monoxide poisoning in a long, cramped underground tube filled with vehicles running on gasoline. Clifford Holland, the chief engineer, and his team knew they needed a revolutionary ventilation system. They turned to Ole Singstad, who designed a transverse flow ventilation system to keep the air inside breathable. This system used 4 ventilation buildings, 2 on each side of the Hudson, and 84 powerful fans, each capable of completely replacing the tunnel's air every 90 seconds. Here's how it worked. Fresh air was drawn in through intake fans and pushed into a duct below the roadway. The air entered the tunnel through slots above the curb, spaced every 10 to 15 feet. Exhaust fans pulled carbon monoxide-laden air out of the tunnel through ceiling vents, expelling it into the open air. This innovative system, with its 84 intake and exhaust fans, could refresh all the air inside the tunnel in just 90 seconds. But ventilation wasn't the only challenge. Building a tunnel under the Hudson River required a twin-tube subaqueous design, spanning 8,500 feet at a depth of 93.4 feet below the surface. To prevent mud and water from flooding the site during excavation, a protective shield enveloped the work area as the crew drilled shafts into the riverbed. Each tunnel tube, made of bolted cast iron segments, formed a strong ring weighing up to 1.5 tons. Workers built 14 segments to complete each ring. Digging through the muck and silt was dangerous, and the compressed air used to keep the water out caused the bends, a condition that crippled or killed many workers. By the time the tunnel opened in 1927, at least 13 workers had died from various construction-related accidents. The Holland Tunnel was initially budgeted at $29 million, but by the time it was completed, the costs had ballooned to $48.5 million, close to $1 billion today. This staggering price tag included the innovative ventilation system, state-of-the-art cast iron lining, and safety measures for workers. But the tunnel claimed another tragic cost before it even opened: its chief engineer, Clifford Holland. After years of relentless work, under immense pressure, he died of a heart attack at just 41 years old. His successor, Milton Freeman, also died during construction. Ole Singstad ultimately took over and oversaw the tunnel's completion. When the tunnel finally opened on November 13, 1927, it was celebrated as an engineering triumph. Nearly 20,000 people walked through it on opening day before cars were allowed in. President Calvin Coolidge pressed a golden telegraph key to officially open the tunnel. Within weeks, daily traffic hit 50,000 vehicles, a number that would grow over the decades. Today, about 100,000 vehicles pass through the tunnel daily, paying a toll ranging from $13.38 to $15.38. But on May 13, 1949, the tunnel faced its ultimate test. The explosion caused a carbon disulfide fire. It burned at 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit and threatened to collapse the tunnel under the weight of the river. But despite the heat and destruction, the tunnel structure held firm. This resilience was due to the combination of its robust cast iron tube construction, not to mention the heroics of first responders, who got people out of the tunnel without a single death on the day of the incident. After the fire, New York and New Jersey enacted stricter penalties for violating cargo rules, preventing hazardous materials like carbon disulfide from passing through the tunnel again. These rules are largely still in effect today. Nearly a century after its construction, the Holland Tunnel remains an iconic passage between New York and New Jersey. Its pioneering ventilation system set the standard for future underwater tunnels, and its innovative twin-tube design proved that large-scale vehicular tunnels could safely and efficiently connect major cities. This is Nick from The Curious New Yorker, and from the bottom of my heart, thank you for watching.